All right, everybody, thanks for joining me live. I've got a couple of folks with me, and I know a couple of folks have asked for the recording. So today our topic is LinkedIn 1.0. And what I mean by that is if you have started a LinkedIn account, which is a very easy setup process, you go to LinkedIn and kind of just say, I'd like to set up a new account, you enter your email and some personal information. But then you get this sort of daunting page of emptiness, and it's like, where do I go from here? Where do I start? And I just want to preface today's conversation by saying, for those who haven't heard me say this already, LinkedIn is the only business-related social media account that will do networking for you. And since 85% or so of the jobs we're going to get in our lifetime are going to come from our network, it makes sense to really create a space for ourselves on LinkedIn. And there are a few exceptions of why you might not have a LinkedIn account. One would be if you don't want to have this social media for privacy reasons. I could see not having a LinkedIn account. And then also, if you're in an industry or a career field where you just know nobody is using LinkedIn, I think you could probably not have a LinkedIn. Although I was just talking to somebody the other day who said, my husband's in construction. I don't know, does even, how is networking going to work if the person, the people we're meeting are not in the construction field? And my answer to that always is, you never know who your network knows. And if you're job searching, it's humbling, but it's also beneficial to start talking to people about what you're looking for and what they can help you with. And LinkedIn is a great place to do that. So let me start by sharing my screen. I'm going to share my screen a few times. Here we go. I just have to make sure it lets me pick the right screen. I have a few opened here. Okay, that's not what I want to show. Neither is that one. Just kidding. Nope, so sorry. I have put it in the wrong place. There it is. It is the right screen. So sorry, everybody. So out of the folks who are with me live, how many of you have a LinkedIn profile? You can either put your answer in the chat or you can just tell me verbally if you'd rather.
I have one.
Okay, that's right, because we were talking offline about kind of how to use things.
Yeah, I also have one.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I have one as well.
Okay, so the three of you, I'll tailor the conversation to the three of you. You're probably familiar then with the setup of LinkedIn in general. A quick overview that we'll go through later is the middle column here is where you would do your posting, also follow your feed. The left side is information. The left column is information about your activity on LinkedIn. And the right, as you can see, is LinkedIn News, which you don't get to choose what is put there, really. I don't even notice that it's based on my feed, so that just sort of comes up. Most of our time today is going to be spent talking about your profile, although I will circle back to groups, your network, and then also the jobs feature for those who haven't used those yet. All right, and just as a quick question, can somebody who's with me confirm that you can see my LinkedIn profile?
I can see it.
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, awesome, thanks. So one of the very first things that you'll want to do, and I don't know if you all have done that, if you're here with me, is create some sort of banner image. This banner image I actually just added right before our call today because I wanted to just give you guys a better example. And I've been meaning to update mine anyway. LinkedIn is not a static document, much like a resume. It's always changing. It should always be developed to reflect who you are and where you are in life. So you can see I've updated a banner image at the very end. If you want to stick around, I'll show you. I use Canva. Are any of you guys familiar with Canva?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, well, great. You guys don't need that. I will tack it on to the end of this video, though. That way, in case somebody else needs it, they can watch that. It's really important to have a banner image if you don't already. Secondly, if you look to the very left, you can see my profile picture. And I want to check my stats here because I always confuse the percentages, but if you have a good picture, well, if you have a picture in general, your profile is likely to get 21 times more views, which is amazing. Again, if you're job seeking, you want to be drawing people to your profile. You will also get more than 9 times of the connection requests. What's important to know about a picture is it should be professional looking, but it doesn't have to be professionally taken. I get that from folks all the time who say, oh, I just don't have the money for a professional picture. And that's fair, right? Like, I just got mine a couple of years ago, after like 10 years of an outdated picture. So what you do want to make sure though is you have really good lighting, that you can see your face clearly. Ideally, you would be smiling, and ideally you would not have anybody else or any pets or anything in the shot with you. So I want to ask the folks who are with me, can you think of a reason or an instance where there would be an exception to those rules, where you might have another person or something other than, I wouldn't have anything other than your face, but another person, or let's say a pet with you on your profile picture?
Maybe if you have a pet business, that would be fine.
Exactly.
Or maybe a team photo if you're a manager.
Absolutely. The only reason I kind of backed myself off to say, if you're, let's say, a team-oriented person, is because, again, people will go to your personal profile for you. And so it's a missed opportunity to brand yourself if you don't have a picture of yourself, in my view. But again, everything, we haven't talked about personal branding at length. I do a separate workshop on that, but all of your choices either add value to your personal brand or they take away from your personal brand. And what I mean by personal brand is just all the things you do that communicate who you are. So you're a pet person, or you're somebody who's like really into nonprofit work and have experience that sort of supports that. Or, if I were the owner of a cat cafe, which, if you can look at my background, I have a couple cats in here. Maybe that's not far off in my future. I don't know. But my profile, my banner and my profile picture might look differently if I wanted to convey a different brand. Any questions about those two areas? Okay. And if before I go too far down the page, one of the most important things you can do is to edit your URL. And you do that by clicking on the pencil that's over here on the right. And at the very top, you see you can edit your custom URL. I created a LinkedIn account many years ago, so my first and last name were available, so I kept them. But if I wanted to change them, because when you first create a LinkedIn account, you get some like gobbledygook of like XP5 73295. I'd love it if somebody put in 8675309. That would be awesome, just to see if like people are paying attention. But again, it might be a missed opportunity to brand yourself. Is there anybody who's with me who does not already have a customized URL? Okay, so good. You guys really are ready for the 2.0 version. Essentially, if you needed it, you would just type in here. Okay, perfect. Thank you. You would just type in, the caution that I want to give you is much like the resume, the email address I would give you for a resume, which is try not to add birth years. So like if my name wasn't available, I probably would not type in, C. Redden, last 2 digits of my birth year, because it's just personal information. Nobody needs to know that. And for those who are with me in the chat, if you want to put yours in the chat, if you would like feedback on it, I'm happy to do that. Or if you want to hop on and tell me what it is, if you want to talk through it, we can definitely do that. Again, the way I got to, oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say, like, I was able to have my full name as well.
Love it. Have you had LinkedIn a long time?
Yeah, I think so. I feel like I've had it since like 20, maybe 15 or 14 or somewhere around there.
Awesome. yeah, I get the sense that the folks who are with me have already done some of those, I don't want to say basic, but really important first steps. Remember, I got to this page, and I'll go back by clicking on the link that said customize your URL. LinkedIn, something you should know, has in the past and still does, has several places where you can do the same thing. So one of the things I do while I'm on this page is, if you're new to LinkedIn, if your LinkedIn is not solid, if it's not fully showcasing your brand, I would go ahead and toggle that switch and turn your visibility off. Because what's going to happen is, while you're building out your profile, there's a setting in there that it says, hey, do you want us to notify your connections when you make changes? Number one, that's not great for your connections, right? Because we're like, okay, Chris, thanks. Like, every time you update something, it's a lot. But the other thing is, if you're going to use this for employers, we don't want their first impression to be a work in progress. So one of the places you can turn off your visibility, again, is on this screen, and I would recommend doing that until it's really solid. You have some other options in terms of what you want to show publicly and what you want to keep private on this page. I'll go over everything that's on the left here in a minute, but I just always like to showcase these options on this particular page. Okay, so that's where I was. I was here in the top left corner, top right corner, JK. So now we're going to scroll down to just sort of my my name and my headline. My name obviously is meant to add clarity. You can add any certifications or titles if you're in human resources or any industry with certifications. Certainly you can add those next to your name. This little shield that you see next to my name just means it's been verified. I'm not exactly sure all the behind the scenes of what LinkedIn did to verify me. I know I had to click some things, but that just lets people know it's not a fake profile. What I wanted to spend some time talking about here is the headline. This is one of the things, much like on a resume, you know, if you've worked with somebody on a resume, they probably would have talked to you about keywords. We talked about that in our recent workshop. Keywords are everything on a resume, but the same logic is true on a LinkedIn profile. As you are job seeking, you want to be really intentional about the key terms that employers are going to use to try to find you. So for those of you who are with me, I know some of you have experience in marketing and social media, and you might think of this as a search engine optimization, which is, if I'm a recruiter, what key terms am I typing in to get you to show up? So for those of you who are with me, would you want to share either your headline or some key terms that you think would be important to have in a headline for your industry?
I haven't thought about the headline too much. I just think I've changed it a couple times, but I put content marketing professional. I didn't put any kind of message, I guess, just those terms.
Okay. I have a handout or a link that I will send to you after this with sample headlines. It becomes a little cumbersome when I just have one monitor to go with multiple screens at the same time, but I will send that to you guys. The research that I have says you should try to keep it to 40 characters. You can see that mine is not, but it should be also very clear, kind of like an objective statement about what it is you do or what it is you're looking for. Well, I'll talk about the looking for work here in a second, but is there anybody who's with me that wants to talk through theirs?
Mine's just my title and company, like where I'm at and what I'm doing. I also haven't really thought about changing that up.
Yeah, so that's kind of what happens with a lot of people, because it seems pretty obvious, just put what you do there. And for a lot of years, that's what mine was. When I just had a full-time job and I wasn't job searching, putting my job title is like a matter of fact. It's like, this is what I do. But if you're job searching, or like in my case, and I know if some of us have talked about, you have a full-time job and then you also do contract work, you're missing an opportunity to promote your contract work in this space. And so back to you, Mike, for either of you, if you're like, well, yeah, but what do I put there? Like for my industry. I heard you say something, Mike, about content marketing. So if one of the things you can do is come up here in the search bar and just type in content marketing. If I spelled it correctly, that would be super helpful. I'll circle back later to the opportunity it gives you or the link for jobs. Let's go with content marketing manager because it should show me some people. It'll default to jobs, but then it's going to show me these people. And then what you can do is look at what they have done. Look at other people's profiles and see like, how are they describing? Ironically, they're doing the same thing you guys have done. They're just listing their job titles. I am a little bit taken by surprise by that because I would think marketing folks would want to, I don't want to say zhuzh, but zhuzh it up and, you know, let's see what digital marketing. We don't find something, that's okay, we'll keep going, but I just wanted to see if we could catch, even saying a dedicated digital marketing leader, I think uses that space to describe herself in a way that if they don't go to your resume, they're not going to know about you, right? If you just say marketing leader, you've kind of missed an opportunity to describe yourself. Some people get super creative, and not just in the marketing industry, but in other industries. I'll be honest, I just refined mine after some recent workshops that I did. Sorry about that. I want to go back to my profile because the more I started talking to people about the work I do, to say I used to have certified career services professionals. Some of you might have seen that. And I was talking with someone recently and they said, yeah, that's true. But like for the person who doesn't know what that means, how does that tell them what you do? And I was like, oh, you're right. So I have found myself saying, I help the unemployed and unhappily employed make strategic career changes. I've been saying that a lot for the last few years. And so I thought, okay, that's maybe what I'll just put. And it seems to make more sense. Because I'm a career services professional and I do career coaching on my own, it makes sense to have career change in my headline.
Question, you were saying like put your profile in private, unlisted while you're making changes, like every little change, are people getting notified or just when you're first creating it?
Both. There's when you're first creating it, they will get some of those notifications, but there is a setting in here. You'll notice when you go in to change it, it will ask you, hey, do you want to tell everybody about this? And I generally say no, especially if you're in a full-time role and you don't want to call attention to the fact that you're having your own business or have a contract work. In my case, I don't think it matters because that's how I got my full-time role, was that I was already doing the contract work. But there, you would think through whether or not it makes sense to notify everybody. But also consider, Mike, too, that when you start your profile, one of the features of LinkedIn that it does for you is it right away starts sending out. If you put in, I went to this school, this school, this school, and I worked at these jobs, it starts notifying people, hey, your old friend Mike, he's got a new account. You want to connect? You want to connect? You want to connect? So even if you have not initiated connection with those folks, LinkedIn is doing it for you. And so it's already drawing people to your account. If you have it set to private in the meantime, they won't see anything. It's a great question.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So I've noticed that I've seen some headlines in my network where they put X Twitter or X Meta or X Amazon and stuff like that. Like, what is your insider or opinion on people putting like being X from somewhere, I guess a company? Does that help?
Well, I don't know if that helps necessarily because, again, if it's all about key term, well, let me rephrase that. If you're thinking about having, showing up in a keyword search, it's great to have those keywords as many places as possible. So that is one benefit. The other benefit I could say is they want it at the top. It's already going to be down here in their employment, but much like a resume, I haven't seen any numbers to say, ooh, they're only going to scan the top third of your page. In fact, I don't think that's true. I know they go down at least through experience and skills, but I think the benefit would be they're trying to catch the recruiter's attention right here at the very beginning. That would be my guess. Any other questions on those portions? I'm looking here at my other statistics. Okay. If you can see my location is just set here to Greater Phoenix area. Again, I'm not job searching. If I were job searching and I wanted to leave the door open for relocation in the United States or even international, I would probably change that and put United States and make it a little more broad. I don't know that there's any value in having your exact city there if you're job searching, because again, employers can screen you out based on where you live. If you're looking for open to, driving to Surprise if you have to, but you live in, the East Valley, they don't know that you're going to move or willing to move or that you're willing to make the drive. And you would never know if they screened you out. So I think the only time I would add location is like I wouldn't even add it to the resume personally, but some people do. If you were job searching in one city and you lived in the same city, like if you kept your job search to, I'm just going to look for jobs in Phoenix. And even then Phoenix is so big, but that would be the only time I would personally add it. If you have your location and industry, you are 23 times more likely to be found, which makes sense because again, you're adding in search criteria. So it's kind of worth your time to do that. I'm going to click on my connections and you'll see I've been intentional about what contact information I share. You could list a phone number, you could list your birthday. If you thought you wanted to have people on LinkedIn know your birthday, some do. I do not. Because I have my own business, I use my contact information to drive people to that business, even though I primarily only work on referrals. I haven't had the space to actively go out and just try to build the business so much. But this would be the way that I would prefer people get a hold of me. So I would just be sure you click on, if you're setting up a new account, be sure you click on that and really think through how you want folks to reach you. Yesenia, if you don't mind, I'm going to stop for a second too and address the question you asked me before we started, if that's okay, because it might apply to a couple of you. The question I got was, well, listen, if it might have been you, it might have been somebody else. If I have a full-time job and also a part-time job, should I have two different LinkedIn pages? And my answer to that is always no, because that could get really confusing for folks. On the other hand, something that I forget about because I haven't decided to develop this, over here in business, if you click on the very top, there's this 9 dots and there's a drop down here for business. I have to move my chat window so I can see this. If you were to create, you can create what's called a services marketplace, which basically is it's tied to your account, your LinkedIn profile, but it says, hey, I'm open for services also. You will populate what are those services, and then you don't have a separate profile. It's another element of your profile. I'm going to show you what that looks like on my page. Let me get out of this here. If we were to go back to my home page, on the left, you see how it says My Pages. I have access to Rio Salado for when I post for them. And then here's my own business. So this page, I've not done a lot with, is still tied to me. But I can post under my business page. I can engage, I can connect with people. I haven't, like I said, I already just work by referral when I take contract work, so this has not made sense for me to build out. But if somebody were thinking of transitioning from a full-time role to a part-time role, and you thought, okay, here's one space I could build out, or just even be available for contract work, like some of you, mine, they changed the way they list them, my services, so they're in a slightly different spot. Let me come back to my profile. But you guys who are with me, you could pull up my profile too and see if it looks differently for you. Here is where that used to be towards the top, but now it's down a little lower. Here are the things I said. I went to that services page and said, here are the things that I will offer for folks like through my own business. So I don't know if that helps, but that would be another way to do that. Okay. Open to is a topic I want to talk about, and I know it takes a long time to go through each of these, so you can tell me to speed it up in the chat if you want. I want this workshop to be primarily useful for those who are with me live, so you just tell me what pace you want me to go through. But I like to go kind of top to bottom so that you, in case you have missed anything, you have it. Open to is really great if you are looking for a new job. A lot of people, I think, feel weird about saying, oh man, I am looking for work. But I will tell you, the reason I focus on unemployed and unhappily employed is because even though most people are working right now, a lot of people are not happy in the jobs they're in. And so whether you're unemployed or just unhappily employed looking for something else, it is okay to say you're looking, with a caveat. You do have to say what you're looking for so that recruiters know, like if you're looking for marketing, if you're looking for human resources. If I start to type in marketing, it says, oh, okay, well, what kinds of things? And I can choose a couple of these if I want. For those of you who are with me, have you guys used this open to features area yet?
Yes.
Yeah, I have. In fact, I was just going to say, I think they limit some of the options to a number. Like for mine, I think locations and job titles, they limit it to I think so many available options.
I think 5.
5 is total. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but play with those and see. But again, you can always have that marketplace services as well. And there's a whole, how there are other sites like Fiverr and there's another one that keeps messaging me. I can't think of it. Bark, I think. And you go there if you are an entrepreneur and you have contract services. People actively go online and just search for people offering these services. So I would do like both if you're job searching. You would say where am I actively looking, or no, I'm just kind of flexibly looking. If you are full-time employed, it is not a good idea to check this box and say you're also looking for full-time work. You do get to, down here, you can see under the visibility, do you just want recruiters to be able to see this, or do you want all LinkedIn members to be able to see this? And if you look at the difference between these two pictures, if I click on the recruiters only option, my profile picture doesn't change at all. There's just a behind the scenes feature that tells employers, hey, if I look for career change people, she's on the list. But the one that says all LinkedIn members says open to work, and it puts this banner around my picture so that everybody knows. Again, this is humbling, but it tells people in your network, hey, I'm looking. If I don't know you're looking, I can't proactively reach out to you and say, oh, hey, Mike, I saw that you were looking. I saw this thing that you might really love it, right? If we don't say anything, people don't know. If you are full-time employed, though, again, what you could do is just say contract or temporary or part-time. I have not heard of a company say they will get really upset for an internal employee who says that they're also looking for contract work. So I think a lot of us have more than one job these days. But I would just be really mindful if you're one of those unhappily employed and you're transitioning, it would probably not be wise to check this full-time box, because even though you think, oh, it's only going to be for recruiters, most big companies have recruiter profiles. And it would not surprise me if it's like let's say, I don't know, but like, let's say it's a Wells Fargo recruiter, do a quick scan for Wells Fargo employees who say they're actively looking for full-time jobs. That could not go over well. But in order for you to mark either one of those boxes that you want to tell recruiters, or you want to have all LinkedIn members know, you do have to give it some job titles. Any questions on that? Or anybody want to make any comments?
No, I found so I had mine checked off for full time, so I'm glad you mentioned that because I took it off just now. Because I put mine more like just casually, because I'm always open to at least a conversation about an opportunity. I'm not like unhappy, but like I'm also not closed to have a conversation if something is better out there.
I think that's fair. That's fair in that most of us want to develop professionally. The only caveat I see or challenge with that is maybe employers don't see it that way. If employers are having a really hard time finding good talent, which we could go down and have a whole discussion on. So they would probably not be excited to see someone is even casually looking for something full-time. Okay, I mentioned LinkedIn has many places to do the same thing. As you get ready to build out your profile, here is one of those places where you could say, oh, I need to add any one of the, career break. I would not add a career break. I would not add a career break. In fact, this is a new feature, because what it does is it says, hey, by the way, I didn't do anything for 12 years. And that's probably not true. If you were with me for the resume workshop, we talked about how to account for the time if you're raising kids or caring for a family member, or you're actively taking a break, but you were also volunteering. In my mind, I would never use add a career break, even if that's what you did. I would not. But this would be one place you could go to add sections. And if you're asking yourself, well, which section should I have? Again, I would search for other people in your industry and find out what they're doing. These people with tons and tons of followers and connections, more than me, what does their profile look like? What sections do they have? What keywords or skills do they have? What are they talking about? Just do your research. And then more, this feature here, send your profile in a message, could be great, right? If I meet, let's say, a recruiter at Fry's or something, I don't know, and I say, oh, are you on LinkedIn? And they say, yeah, I could just send them a connection. But if they were already on here, I could also, I guess sending a connection works equally well, but you could also send your profile if you wanted as a message. You can save your profile as a PDF. I don't recommend it. I can't see any reason why anybody would. Some people will do so because they think it looks great for a resume, but it does not, because the formatting looks like this on paper. There's no reason to have company logos or pictures. It's a poor use of space. I can't think of a reason why. If you guys can, let me know. But I cannot. So I usually say skip it. Because even though it's the easier way of what a resume might look like, that's exactly what it tells them, the employer, is you took the easy way instead of sending a resume. Okay, stop me if you guys have any questions. Otherwise, I will keep going. Those of you who are with me, you all have LinkedIn, so you're probably familiar with your analytics. I don't check them often because, again, I'm not job searching. But if I were, I probably would want to see how my posts were doing, so I know which posts to keep adding. And if you're job searching, this is one of the tips at the very end. Ideally, you would be actively posting on LinkedIn once your profile is done, daily, at least daily, because you sort of build momentum. But you could come in here and check out more analytics if you wanted. Most people I know don't, but you could. if you thought this was a space for you to build your business. Oh, sorry. I'm trying to hit the back. There we go. I just had a thought about that. One thing that is great is when you see who viewed your profile, if you click on that specific link, I didn't click on the analytics, but just who viewed your profile. You can see some people are blurred, and that's because they have chosen to be blurred, which also on the page I showed you earlier where you can hide your profile, you can also hide your profile as you look at other people's profiles, and this is how it would show up. Or you could just say completely anonymous, and then there wouldn't be this like blurred out thing either. But these people have selected that they don't want people to know they've looked at their profile. I'm not sure why you'd want to do that, but some people choose that. You'll see there's an option here to try premium. If you're wondering, I've never figured out a reason why somebody would really benefit from what premium offers, unless you do the monthly free trial and just like check everything out. I've never paid for it. I don't know anybody who has found value when they did. Sorry, LinkedIn. But what's great, what I wanted to point out, when you click on who's viewed you, if the people have already come to your page, there was a reason that brought them there. It's, in my mind, not weird then to reach out to Carrie to say, hey, I saw that you looked at my page. We have some things in common. Would you like to connect? That's not creepy because she came to my page first, and vice versa, right? If I go to Chris's page and Chris is like, oh, hey, Carol, I saw that you checked out my profile. Do you want to connect? I can say yes or no, but I don't think it's weird. This is a space for networking, is all I'm trying to convey. Let's see. Yeah, there's tons and tons of people who selected to be private, and that's totally okay. Okay. Did you guys know it was okay to reach out to people who viewed your profile? I don't know why it keeps doing that.
I've done it, but I have premium, so I could see who views my profile, but I don't pay for it.
Okay.
It's through my company, but to be
Yeah.
honest, I don't even know what other features that actually gives me, to be honest.
Yeah.
I know I could see who sees me and
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a one bonus, but again, think about LinkedIn kind of like if you go to a networking event, which a lot of people hate, and then you walk out of there, or at least pre-COVID, you walk out of there with 20 business cards, feeling really good about yourself. If you put those business cards in a corner in your office and then subsequently the trash, that was not really networking. That might have been, free drinks or free taquitos, on a Tuesday night, but it was a complete missed opportunity if you don't then turn around and message those people. And the same with LinkedIn. I recommend always to be mindful, if not strategic, about who you connect with. But if you're job seeking and you have anything in common with people and their profile appears to be reputable, you have nothing to lose by connecting with them. And it's not weird to ask. A lot of people feel like, ooh, I don't know. And I'm like, hey, except that it's a connection site. So don't worry about that. So again, to see that, I just clicked on my network and then the link that said who's viewed you. I can see that in a few places. If you notice, as I'm scrolling down, these options that we covered already are up here on our banner, our header area. So again, lots of places to do the same thing. Let me click on these other resources. I can't remember. I can manage my network here, but I can also manage my network here. I can manage my profile network here or here. So I can do these other things, the activities and saved items. I can see them from my homepage as well. So I don't need to really click on this resources link. I could if I wanted, but I don't need to. Okay, the summary. Out of all the places you could look on LinkedIn, let's say numbers from 1 to 10, 1 being the best, 10 being like, no, not really. How important do you think it is to have the summary section, which is right here? Do you think it's like number 3, number 2, number 1?
I'd say number one, because maybe like a resume, people aren't gonna scroll down and look at the rest of your jobs or skills or anything.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd agree. Probably at least 1 or 2.
You are correct. It is number 1. It's the number 1 thing they're looking at. And so I'm going to also send you a link with some sample summaries. Again, the best way to know how to write your summary, though, is look at other people in the industry you're in or industry you want to go into. What keywords are they using? Also, you can look at jobs either here on LinkedIn or jobs on a place like Indeed and get really familiar with the key terms for that industry. Make sure they're in here somewhere, especially if you're job searching. I'm not job searching right now, so mine is more descriptive than it is meant to be strategic. But again, this is where I thought, okay, I'll talk a little bit about what a certified career services provider is, the fact that I've won awards, something I think I noted here that I'm passionate about helping people, groups, professional groups that I'm a part of, and then some of the roles that I've had. There's no real wrong way to do this unless you just don't put anything, or I guess there is a wrong way if you just put something like, looking for work, or and one very wrong way, I'll just come right out and say it, and I want to be delicate in the way I say it, is if it reads as pessimistic. And the reason I want to be delicate when I say that is because when you are job searching, it's humbling. I have been there myself more than once. And at some point, when you get the job, you can look back and go, oh, okay, good, there was this great thing around the corner. But when you're in the middle of it, you have no idea how long it's going to take, right? So this is why I have that first session on personal branding, because your perception of your value can take a hit when you're job searching, I have found, especially if you're not job searching strategically. So I would have somebody who's impartial proofread this for you and check the tone. It should sound optimistic. It should sound not really exciting, but it should be reflective of your brand for sure, right? So if you're somebody who is a pet rescue, I should get a real sense that you care for animals here. If you're a creative type, I should get that sense from you, that that's what you're passionate about. And why are you passionate about it? Think about your summary like your why statement, right? Why are you in content marketing? Why are you in construction? Why are you in recruiting? These kinds of things could go here. Any questions about that you want to talk through?
I have mine listed more as kind of a summary of what I've done. Kind of opens up the, kind of a pointed statement, about my experience, and then kind of breaks it down between the specific roles that I've worked in. Is that appropriate, or does it need to be more generic or more, I don't know, directed, I don't know, broad?
I don't think that's the wrong way to go. A summary is great. They are going to look at the experience section. And in fact, for experience, if you are strategic about how you list that, you're 36 more times likely to be found by your experience section. So that tells me they are looking at that section. I used to have a summary here as well. That I think is okay to do, but whether it's the summary or when you start talking about your jobs, I don't think what you want to do is, when you think of, again, about tone and word choice, I think you just want to frame it in terms of like, here's what I've actively done or chosen to do. It should sound like a journey that you're taking me on, especially if you're in the marketing field. Like, use language that kind of walks me through that visually, as opposed to, I did this for 5 years, I did this for 4 years, I did this for 3 years, and then I was over here for 6 years, right? Because eventually they'll just scroll down and see exactly that. But if you can frame it in a way that tells me the story behind it, I think that's more valuable. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's helpful.
Okay.
I was just curious because I try to mirror it somewhat to give more detail rather than just bulleted points on a resume. So I didn't know if that was the right approach.
I hear mixed reviews on how long this should be. What you're looking at for mine is about the right length, give or take. If I were job searching, I might shorten it a little bit because I want to be, and I might put in more key terms maybe, but I would look at your peers, especially the ones who have jobs that you want, and or a ton of ton of followers, and then use that as your guide. Like, what's the going language for summaries in your field? You could also use ChatGPT. That's probably another workshop topic to say, hey, here's my experience. Can you write me 5 sentences that summarizes it and shows my enthusiasm and passion for creative work? See what you get. It might be really great. My only caution is I always give for ChatGPT or any AI is it should give you a starting place. I almost never would recommend completely copying and pasting what ChatGPT gives me and going, boop, this is exactly what I'm going to use. I honestly, the reason I say that is because I have also tried it in the past and it just does not feel authentic. It doesn't read authentic. It doesn't feel authentic. So that would be my guidance. Anybody else? Yesenia, okay. Yeah, I think that's good. A little bit of like a summary, cover letter type, what your experience is and accomplished, what you enjoy. Yeah, I think that's probably a great way to go. Just be sure it's got those keywords in it. And again, this is a little tricky for those who might have a full-time job and you're open to contract work. This is one of those places you have to walk the line. If it were me, and my full-time job aligns with my contract work, so I don't have 2 different industries I'm working with. It's career coaching. But if I wanted to, like my full-time job is career coaching and I wanted to pivot into specifically, let's say marketing, it's related, but not closely. For my summary, I would talk about my passion for creativity, and critical thinking and helping other people, thinking outside the box. I would talk about maybe a sentence about how I have my experience, but I don't want to emphasize my full-time job if I also want people to think about me in a different capacity, if that makes sense, right? If I provide all of this, and then at the very end I say, and I'm open to contract marketing work, that's a disconnect. It's very obvious that we're talking about 2 different things. Instead, I would probably try to use marketing terminology in my description of things that I've done in the past so that they mix together. And that's harder with some disciplines than others. And if you were job searching and you're like, I don't really know what the next thing is for me, I would actually pause there and do some work. I mean, I offer a workshop on it, but I know probably lots of people do. There are lots of other career coaches. In terms of spending some time really getting clear about what you're looking for and why, because until you know the answers to, and like what you bring to the table, until you know the answers to those questions, you could create a resume that really takes you somewhere you don't want to go, or you could be creating a brand for yourself on LinkedIn that also is not helpful for you. So I would, if you're just not sure, I would pause and get clear on that before you create your about statement. Because your about statement might be something like, I've had a wonderful career. I've fulfilled all of my goals. I've won lots of awards or something to that effect. And I'm in a space of looking for what brings me joy. And that thing is this. I'm very passionate. I want to use my skills from X, Y, and Z to get me to this place. However you can make that bridge for them. But that's probably what I would recommend. Okay. I can edit my services here, even though I initially added them on the business side of things. I would type them in here. You click on the add button and then you start typing. Let's see here. I would probably want to go back and, I don't know if I'm going to change this or not. I'm going to be honest. This this is a different summary that pertains just to the services. So again, if you create a service account, you could have a separate summary that just talks about all of the great things you will do on a contract basis and why. Because here you can see for my summary statement for career coaching, I don't think my time in higher ed, I don't talk about the different roles that I've had in higher education. I just talk about like why I want to help people and how I can help them. So I can edit those anytime I want. Any questions about those, the summary or the services?
Do you have to have a services page to add services?
Yes. In this way, yes. That's a great question. Yeah, because otherwise, if you just click open to work, it doesn't know what you're offering. I mean, again, when we looked at it, you could click those boxes that say, I'm open to contract work, full-time work, whatever, but that's going to be only if recruiters find you. When you click the box that says everybody can view this, only recruiters can still see the specific things that you said you were open to doing. The only way to get the services option is through this business page. But that's something to think about too, right? If even if you want to start offering consulting services, maybe some of you are pivoting and you still have one foot maybe in the old industry, maybe you still do consulting for those folks while you explore and think about the new thing. So you can have a service page for that. It's probably, I think it's referred to as a business page, but it's for services. Great question. Anything else? Okay. The next item is featured, as you can see here. This is where you would upload videos that showcase something that you wanted to showcase. I think it can also be articles. Let me just go back. I always have to check things because LinkedIn does change things. If I wanted to click plus, yeah, I can, let's say I'm an editor, or that might be a writer of some sort, or copywriter or something, and it made sense. I could put samples of my work here. If I want to go into marketing and I've created posters or flyers or digital media, I could drop it here. This is another added bonus of LinkedIn that you don't get with other sites. For me, I've just chosen videos because we know that videos always get more views than audio, and audio always gets more views than just print. But let's say you happen to be a student watching this and you've written some great research papers and you're going to apply for grad school. You could post some of them here for sure. Do you guys, do any of you that are with me, have you put anything in your featured section?
No. Are these, they don't have to be things you've posted, right?
They do have to be things you've created.
I mean, like, I think I've maybe done one actual post on LinkedIn. Like, you don't have to post it. You can just add something that you want to feature.
Exactly. You don't have to have already added it. You can just upload it here. Yeah, for sure. It's like a, oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank, portfolio. But these ones are featured. There are other places to put projects and stuff like that down below. But this is like your reel. This is towards the top, and you get to decide. The only note is anytime you upload media, you have to constantly come in and check the links to make sure nothing's broken. Okay, so then stop me if you're in, oh, okay, great, Yesenia, great. Oh, that's right, because you're writing articles. That's amazing. And if you want to be seen as a writer, it makes sense to publish your writing. Yeah. The activity is a summary of what I have already done while I was on my home page. So if I'm liking my friend's posts, if I am reposting, if I'm participating in groups, that kind of thing. Or if I've written an article, it's gonna, all of these categories here, it's going to summarize it for me. I don't ever come in here and change anything because in my mind, this is a reflection of what has already happened. I suppose if I wanted to unlike a post, I could. Excuse me, this would be where I go, but I generally don't need to do that. Okay, so experience. Let's see here. I mentioned, yes, this is the 36 times more likely to be found. I do recommend, this is what you see here is, I recommend combining entries for the same employer. There is a way to, if I, for example, right now you can see I had multiple roles over the last 20 years and 10 months with this employer. For me, this is a cleaner way to go, especially if some of these, like, well, actually, I do all of these right now. But if I had other roles, like I didn't put down that I was a tutor for a while, I just took that off. And then I'm also not going to put bulleted items or any content related to that here. But you could, the other way to do it would be if I add another entry, like if I'm with my current employer for 6 years in this role and then 3 years in another role, I could decide to just add a separate position here and it will kind of separate it out for me. I looked at somebody's like that the other day and it was, I felt like I was missing an employer, but it's really just personal preference. That's more of an aesthetics choice than it is a standard, we always do this or we always do that.
So how do you add two of them together? Sorry.
That's okay. Do you mean to make it like I have it or to separate them out?
Yeah, so like one company I've worked with them back like in 2019, but it was like a contract role, and then it wasn't until like maybe a year later.
Okay.
I guess because it's like the months that really throw me off.
So when you come here to the edit, this little pencil, and then you click on, I think it's plus, add position. It's just like adding another position anywhere else. If I added the same employer name and the title and the dates, you just enter it like you would any other employment, but it recognizes it's the same employer, so it kind of formats it a little differently. So I would say if you wanted to separate it, you would just do two separate entries and it should connect them for you.
So how do you show that that you were at the same company different times, but it was different roles?
You would come here to the plus sign. So I've already entered it once, let's say for the role right now. Then I would come here to the plus sign, add a position, and I would enter that employer information again, my employment type. Again, this would be my old job title. Was it contract back then? I would enter the same company name. Let me see if I can do a test for you.
Yeah, because I was wondering if it's like for a past employer, like combining. Not
well, it's the same whether it's past or current.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So if I do full-time and then this is going to be weird. My coworkers are going to be like, wait, no, you didn't. Because I just said I was a test engineer. Where's I don't think I can move this to say my location. I don't want to say I'm currently because this would have been the old one. Let's say I did this from, I don't know how well this is going to work because I'm arbitrarily picking. I'm going to pick a time before I started in my current role. And let's just go January. I'm just willy-nilly of 2001. And we'll just put a test. It should recognize that they're both the same company. Oh, see, it's like, oh, great. Do you want to connect with these people? No, I do not. Not today. If you're one of those people watching, it's not that you don't want to connect, just not today. So I might have to refresh it. Let's see. Let's see. Oh, it would all the way. Ooh, oh, curious. Oh, it did. It popped it all the way down here. I'm going to have to play with that and double check because, oh, hold please. I also can, at the top, I can reorder things if I want to. So I can move things around. If I clicked on that double, oh, it's only letting me do some of them. That's a new thing. Interesting. Oh, you know why? It's only giving me the option to reorder these because they are current. They're all current. And the other ones are chronologically entered. But I will have to look because I have seen it where it groups them together. Maybe it doesn't anymore. See, that's a whole rabbit hole. I'll look into that and get back to you because it might just be a feature they don't do anymore. When I saw it, maybe it was from somebody before. But honestly, I think this is the cleaner way to do it anyway. Is to put them
Yeah,
all.
because like I
here.
was looking at my profile now and I have it grouped, but then like it's ungrouped. But it looks like it's only grouped because it overlaps. Like the dates. It doesn't necessarily
Oh, maybe that's why they're in the same category. If I had put in overlapping dates, probably it would have made them.
okay.
Maybe that's the thing. I would go in here though and edit. Click edit, and then poke around and see what the options are. And offline, if you want me to go through that with you, we can look at it. But that's how you edit and reorder at least your current roles. What's important to know about, and see, one of the notes that I made here was I said, hey, look, I'm with the Maricopa Community Colleges, but then there was a space to be more specific, and I just put both colleges' names there. I typed those in, I believe, so you could always use that space to be specific about what you did at which times, if it didn't give you the option anywhere else. Or you could describe it here. After doing such and such role in a contract capacity and exploring other options, I was asked to come back and take on a leadership role. That's the kind of thing you could put in your description. If you were job searching, the one way to start would be take whatever you created for your resume and drop it in your experiences with those bullets. And if you use keywords when you created your resume, that's a great strategy. You want to stay away from, again, anything that sounds like you're just copying and pasting a job description that just says, I was responsible for, and then all these things you had to do. That might be true, but number one, some of those probably don't relate and don't offer value to the new employer. But number two, that doesn't really tell me about you and your passion for the role or your excitement. Because up above in your summary, you just told me you're passionate about all these things, or this is what you look forward to, or why you do this work. But then here in your description, you're like, I did this, 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 and this. So you don't need to have it in sentence form. And in fact, this paragraph might be too long because, again, people don't like to read. But it would be worth being really thoughtful about how you describe your work experience so that it conveys, like, why did you do it? Why were you, I should be able to read this and see why were you with that company for 20 years, right? That's kind of a long time. Oh, okay, thank you for that update as far as combining it. And then one of the really cool things, if I go back here, I rushed past this, but if you're clicking on edit, it's a newer feature. You can say down below, I'll show you how to add skills. And then once those skills are populated, you can attach, and again, they also only let you attach your 5 skills, which you can rearrange the order by dragging these and just kind of sliding them around. Oh wait, does it let me do? Oh, I have more here, and they say, well, we recommend just adding the top 5 now. So that would be for me to, again, this is a living document, a descriptive page of me. I would go in and continually manage this. But what it does, if I do add the skills, 31, oh, no, it said you're likely to get responses from 5 times more employers if you have the skills attached to your experience. And so when I went into add or edit, and then I added those skills, this is how they show up. And also in that same area, there was a feature to upload media, and you'll see I have a bunch of certifications here. What questions do you have about experience section? A lot of times this is where I get most of the questions.
So it's okay to treat it like a resume, and if you're applying for a job, you want it to kind of match, or should it be kind of like a master resume with every single skill you have? Because like when you go and do a resume, you tailor it to that job. You know, you take off things that aren't important per se for that job. You know, and if you have multiple applications out, you know, you don't necessarily want to take off things, I guess.
Yeah,
How much should you update it, I guess?
that's the really tricky part. Again, you want to be, ideally you would do work on the front end to get really clear about not just the industry you want to go into, but have an idea of like the jobs you want to go into if you're job searching. Because the more clear you can be in your own mind, the more clearly you can brand yourself and what it is you're looking for. It gets tricky if you're open to marketing or management. Those are 2 different skill sets. Unfortunately, I think when you want to leave yourself open to 2 different fields entirely, you'll probably need to talk a little bit about both. Just give us the highlights of both. The other strategy I have seen is to be, I don't want to say vague, but maybe not as detailed for jobs that you're not, that let's say are not at top of your list. I have been in a position before where I've applied for jobs that, let's say I was, you know, thinking of grant writing, and then I was thinking about nonprofit work, which those align a little bit, and then, you know, kind of all under the same umbrella. It does get a little tricky. I think the best you can do if you're kind of leaving that umbrella open, again, I would recommend try, now that I know what I know, I would try to get really clear before doing a LinkedIn page. But if you need to leave yourself a few options, I would probably just word this description in a way that showcases both. And whichever one you're leaning more toward would be at the top. So for example, if I'm applying for marketing and management, I really want more marketing jobs, but I'm willing to take management. I would put, if I had 4 bullets or 4 things, I would put the marketing ones at the top and the management underneath. But again, now that I know what I know about branding and how it applies to job searching, I would say do that for now. And then as you get more clear about which one you're really passionate about, then you can focus more. In my mind, job searching is a difficult place to be, but the upside is if you do the self-exploration, you can create and get to a place that maybe didn't even exist before. Maybe it didn't even used to be a job, right? I mean, there are, you know, think about like social media marketing. 12, 15 years ago, that wasn't even a job. But people got really good at promoting themselves and other things online, and now they are full-time jobs. So more work you can do to explore and get really clear before you make a LinkedIn is ideal. I don't know if I answered your question though, other than the suggestion of adding both.
No, I think you did.
Okay.
For sure.
Thank you. And then I would say, you know, just be mindful about any media that you add. Again, is it gearing you more towards one direction, or is it leaving the door open for more than one? Again, everything either adds value to your brand or it takes away from your brand. So if your brand is a content marketer and that's the way you want to be perceived, that's what you're passionate about, you know, there may not be a job right now, but that really is the thing that gets you out of bed every morning. other than like life and family and, you know, like important things. If it's inspiring for you, those would be the attachments in the media that I would provide so that it's real clear, like the brand that you're presenting or the case that you're making, it's real clear. And I know we're right at the end time. There are a few, I mean, the same is true, obviously, as we scroll through all of the rest of these employments or experience section. There are a few other categories that we would not normally spend as much time on, but I want to touch on. And then I'd like to touch on jobs and groups and the value of those, as well as if anybody wants to stick around, I'll talk about Canva. But so feel free to take off anytime you need to, but I'm guessing about 15 more minutes is what it will take me. If you're somebody, Chris, this might apply to you. If you're somebody who's thinking, or you know somebody who maybe is going from one career to another, I actually have my jobs. You might not know this looking at other parts of my resume, but they were very early on in my career. And I started to take them off at one point, and a student actually said, no, you really should leave those on because it helps us to see the progression in your career. And if you're somebody who is, you know, career changing, there could be some value in going back a ways too. These jobs are not on my resume anymore, you know, from the 90s, for crying out loud, but because they're not also education related, but there could be value in having them there. So I would just think through how far back you need to go based on the jobs you're applying for and your experience. Okay, oops, I went right past it, I'm sorry. Education is important. You'll see I have the dates here just for, I don't think I have the dates for all of my school. No, I don't. It doesn't really, I don't think, matter. I could list my dates, but having your undergraduate college, if you went to college, does date you. If you give like the date range there, whereas grad school doesn't necessarily. So I have not, but I've seen it both ways. You would decide what's right for you based on privacy and preference. If you had a great grade point average, I would say to list it. If your college, you know, was, you know, 30 years ago, I think it's moot because fewer and fewer employers are even paying attention to GPAs for current students and grads. So I wouldn't worry about it, but I would consider listing your education, and I would definitely list your institutions, even if you went to a school for one semester. And the reason why is because as soon as you enter it, you're going to see that school name here. And when you get ready to add connections, it's going to say, oh, you and so-and-so went to Wilkes together. Do you want to connect? That could be the one connection that helps you get your next job. So it's not frowned upon that you took a class while you were doing other things, just one semester. And it's entered in years anyway, so you can just say 2014. You don't have to list the names of your classes, but you could if that's where you took a lot of marketing stuff, let's say, and you were just coming back to the marketing world. I would definitely have all the marketing classes for sure. And the same is true with licenses and certifications. Generally, you do need to list the dates or the date range for those things. Those are going to be industry specific. If you are not sure what licenses or certifications apply to your industry, again, I would start looking at job postings, and I would start looking at other people's profile in your industry to find out what do they have and how do I, you know, maybe that's the thing I need to get, because now I have these key terms on my profile that maybe some of my counterparts don't. Stop me if you have any questions about education or licenses and certification. Project is the part I was talking about that's really a portfolio. If you have some visual work, yes, some of it can be featured, but also you can add more of it here in the projects. People like to see visuals and or proof that, you know, something existed. So I want to say I used to have media here, and I don't know why it's not there anymore. Let me do an edit just to see. Or maybe it's, oh, if you click on show project, it pops out maybe to another window. No. Okay, so it's good. I have to, oh, it was an article. It was a Mesa Independent article. So yeah, that link doesn't work. I need to go back in and take that out. Probably the same with some of these. So that's on me. I have to go in and look at that section. If I were job searching, I would be on top of this. It's just something that you want to be sure is up to date all the time. But it's a great place to show, your resume can tell, oh, I completed this project, I created these things, and I've done this, but this is the show place. And it carries a lot of weight with employers. So I would definitely consider adding visuals if they apply to you. Okay. Volunteering, we talked about this on the resume, in the resume workshop, but for those who weren't with me, volunteering shows that you will do more than what's required of you. And when I'm deciding between multiple candidates, I always look to see who has done volunteer work. In fact, I need to put my recent volunteer work on here. But also, just like it is with the jobs, as soon as you add your volunteer work, you see all these brands, logos, right, of companies for me that I have volunteered for. As soon as I enter that and I start updating my profile, it says, oh, so-and-so was a volunteer at Fresh Start, or worked there, or was a participant there. Do you know her? Do you want to connect? She may be the person who's now hiring for the job that I want. So even though I would encourage you to do volunteer work for what it gives you in terms of, especially if you're job searching, I know it sounds counterintuitive to go, no, Carol, I'm looking for work. Volunteering is one of those things that will remind you of your value as a human outside of your work identity. And sometimes in doing the volunteer work, you reconnect with your passion to then reconnect you with what that new career path is for you. So I would highly recommend that if you haven't thought about volunteering. And I just list one or two things that I felt, as far as job duties, that relate to what I might want a future employer to see. And I would probably, I updated these a long time ago, so I would probably go in and just make sure they're still, applicable. Like, I don't want to talk about that I did event planning, because I don't really love to do event planning. So I don't want to showcase that anywhere in my profile. Otherwise, people might look to me for that skill. Speaking of skills, this is one of my most favorite features of LinkedIn, especially as you're setting up your account. Do you guys have skills? Have you built out your skill section?
Yeah, I think I hit the max.
Okay.
Me too.
I'll tell you, I hit the max too when I first set up my account. And then the other day, I try to go through every so often and refresh. I had 50 skills here. And that was good, except that over time, some of those skills no longer even needed to be here. So I cleaned them up. Not only that, but because I had added them, and rightly so, the people I was reaching out to, or LinkedIn was reaching out to them for me, which is another thing LinkedIn will do for you. If I add some skills, it will say to my contacts, hey, Carol just added a skill. Would you endorse her for that? Meaning, do you think that's true? And so I had a bunch of skills here, and they had like 3, 2, 1, 4 endorsements. And then I looked at who endorsed me. And honestly, this was back in the day when LinkedIn was really big on like pushing endorsements from people. So there were people who had no way of knowing I actually had the skill that they said. They just thought I was a nice person, I think, and was like, yep, I like her. Of course she can do Excel. They never saw me do an Excel spreadsheet. So I went back and cleaned up my list. And if I couldn't tell that the people on that list could actually vouch for my skills, I deleted the skills. I'm just suggesting really think through. More is not necessarily better, but if you have 50 and you can start getting endorsements for those skills, it's amazing, because as you saw with some of my jobs, it starts letting you attach skills to jobs and those endorsements to your jobs. And it just becomes like fill in the blank, where it's very robust from a recruiter's perspective. So for example, career counseling, I want to click on this because I can't remember. These are all the jobs. It does say 13. These are all the jobs where I feel like I did career counseling. And 86 of my connections said that they agreed that I'm great at career coaching or career counseling, interchangeable. So there's a ton of value. Also, again, those skills happen to be usually the key words employers are looking for. So how would you find out if you have the right key skills on your profile? Or I guess
Yeah.
go ahead.
Usually when you see a job on LinkedIn, even Indeed, it says, you have these skills that match, or you might be missing some skills. And I guess
Yeah.
the thing that's the bummer is like, well, I don't know, for some reason they listed these skills as important. They're either like, really like soft skills, or like it's the same thing as what you have listed. And so I guess, I don't know, you can go and replace them or add it, like, you know, video video production and content creation, they're synonymous, but
Mm-hmm.
an employer might be looking for one keyword over the other.
That's true. I agree. I always say look for trends. I also do a workshop on job searching. And I say start following the job postings, because you will learn what are the skills, what are the certifications, what are the training, what's the education, what do you need for that dream job, if you will, and then work backwards to know what you need to get. But if you start watching for patterns, you'll see how those skills are referred to. And sometimes you might have to have more than one, even though they're very similar, to catch the algorithm, if you will. So that employers who say this way can't see you, and employers who say that way see you. I would just, if it were me and I were looking at building my profile right now, and once it was built out, I would start messaging my contacts and saying, hey, would you endorse me for these skills? We worked on these projects together. I just asked for them. And the same is true with recommendations. I don't think I have any recommendations that I didn't ask for, but I will say I strategically asked people for different things. So I have former students here, former coworkers, and former bosses here. And at one point I thought I was going to wanted to move up in higher ed into, leadership. So I asked some people, I didn't tell them what to write, but I said, hey, would you talk about my leadership skills? Whatever you think is true of my leadership, would you talk about that? Or, hey, would you talk about my teaching abilities, or what it was like to be a student in my class? So I gave them a little bit of guidance. Two things you would want to know about that is, one, when you ask someone for a recommendation, be prepared for them to say, sure, will you write me one? And two, I always offer to write it for them. So for example, if I asked Chris for a recommendation, I would say, hey, Chris, would you be willing to talk about my coaching, my career coaching, give me a recommendation for that? He could say, yeah, but I just don't have the time. My follow-up to that is, no problem. Why don't I write it and send it to you? You can take out whatever you feel is not true. You can change the wording. I'll use whatever you want, but it will save you some time. 9 out of 10 times the person will go, yeah, that sounds great. Write something up. I can't think of ones that I wrote here, but I'm sure at least one of them, especially if they were like my boss, I would say, well, let me just write a few things and you tell me what you think. And then usually they would be like, yeah, okay, that's fine. So make the ask. And then I would say, if they need help getting started, offer to help. Because if we don't ask, we probably won't get. And then you can see that these are visible, that's what this on feature means. I don't edit their recommendations because I feel like they gave it to me exactly the way they wanted it written, and I post it as they listed it. Any questions about recommendations or skills? Other questions?
When it comes to recommendations, would you, because I feel like I've gotten mixed, I guess, feedback about this. So like I've asked people to provide me feedback on my profile, and then I've had other people where it's like, oh, can you craft me like a bio or something? Is it better off to just say, hey, like here's a little bio of like, do you mind like sending this recommendation, like putting this on my account? Or
I don't know if I'd give them a bio, but I would say, hey, I'm really interested in building out my LinkedIn profile and my brand. I'm wondering, give them some context. Since we worked on this project, would you be willing to talk about my skills in this area? 2 or 3 sentences. And then if they say, I just don't have time, you can say, no problem. Do you mind if I write something and send it to you for you to review? Because I feel like if you give too much like a bio, it almost says, hey, can you read this whole thing and then create something? I just feel like that's more work for them. But if you're very clear about what your ask is and the context behind it, like, why are you asking me about customer service or your customer service? Why are you asking me about your marketing skills? Oh, because remember I did a marketing job for you, right? So I think it's fair, give them context about why you're asking and be really clear about what you want. And you can even say, hey, would it be possible to do this, this, and this, you know, by the end of next week? Would that be fine? If you give it open-ended, you may never get it back. So it's good to kind of give a turnaround time also, but express the importance of like why you're doing this. I'm really trying to build up my LinkedIn presence. And hey, by the way, if you want, I'll write one for you as well. Does that help?
Yeah, I guess I should have, I like the ad about giving them a deadline, because I know I've asked people and like it's probably been a month since I asked.
We're
And they
always
said they
really,
would, but they haven't done it yet. So
and in that case, if you haven't heard back, and if you know them well, you can write back and say, hey, I totally know you're busy. What do you think about me writing something and just letting you check it out? And then see what they say. It especially when you're job searching, it cannot hurt to ask. Which is, I guess, the blessing and the curse of being in that space, right? Is like super humbling, but there's a ton of opportunity for growth at the same time. So I would list honors and awards, particularly those that are applicable. Especially if you have other languages, I would list those. If you're part of any professional organizations, I would definitely include those. Even if they are related to your discipline, but they're not current, I would still list them. I still would, because again, it's another opportunity for this organization to show up as part of like a search. If somebody wanted to search for the National Career Development Association, I should pop up because I'm a member. It's on my profile, and it should pop up for them. As far as interest in causes, these are optional sections as well. And again, at any time you can click right here. You don't have to go all the way back up to the top to add a section. I would say be really clear about what people or influencers support your brand. So I have just a few organizations and schools that I follow because I happen to like what they're posting in my feed. And that's how I come up with it. And same with causes, right? I would stay away from anything that was political unless you were going to go work in a political arena, and that's part of your brand. I don't say the same about religion. I would say you very much could have, like, let's say a religious person that you follow, like a popular pastor or something, because the reality is, and we've talked about this before, I think if religion is part of your brand, it's core to who you are, and somebody pauses, they don't want to hire you over that, probably it's not going to be a great fit. Your brands are probably not going to align. The only, again, example I can see where kind of is not beneficial for you is if it's political and can be seen as divisive. But again, if it's core to who you are and you want to work for an organization that supports that part of your brand, why not? Why not go all in? For most people, I think they want to kind of leave the door open and just take politics out of it. You know, and maybe just you don't talk about politics. Any questions about any of those things before I talk about groups and jobs? Hopefully there are little nuggets of new things that you guys are learning as we go through. But as far as groups, I could go into my network up here and then it would show me the groups I already have, which these would all show up in my feed. As soon as I add groups, it shows up in my feed. If you're somebody who's changing careers, I can't stress enough how important it is to start joining these groups in the new industry that you're going into. that's the best way to learn the terminology, to watch the trends, to talk to the people at the table in that industry. Join the group, start just paying attention to the conversations. When you feel ready, you can react to them like a thumbs up or like clapping or whatever. And then when you feel ready, start chiming in. And then when you feel ready, start creating your own pieces for that group. But this is where your people are. LinkedIn in general is all a network, right? It's all, everybody is a potential network. The people you share something in common with are closer in your network, and the people you have very similar interests with, like a group, again, they're even more likely to be resources career-wise. In this case, for this platform. You're welcome. You're welcome. That sounds great, Mike. Thank you for the update. If you're thinking of what groups to join, again, you can look at other people in your industry and find out what groups are they in. Oh gosh, I have gone way over. Sorry, guys. I'm going to check to see if, okay, I think some folks are still with me. That's okay. I still want to include it also for people watching the recording. But if you weren't sure, like let's say you got, okay, I want to start marketing, a marketing group. We talked about this, I think, early on. If I just type in marketing in the search bar and I go down to marketing groups, it shows me all of the possible groups that I could be joining. And this is amazing because some of these you have to have met a certain criteria to join the group and some you don't. But this, think about groups like your foot in the door. This is where you start being part of the conversations. Do you guys have groups already?
Yes.
Okay. Do you think there's opportunity for more groups in the field that you want to go expand into? Or have you already checked through them all?
I haven't. To be honest, I feel like I'm looking at my groups now and I feel like I need to go through it again and unjoin some and like maybe join some new ones that are probably more relevant to me.
Yeah. And that's, again, it's a living space. So sometimes we join groups based on where we are in life. And then we're like, I'm not really following that part of this thing anymore. So we can get out of those groups and get into new groups. And it's just a great way to engage. Okay, then I'm going to pop over to jobs. Have you guys used the jobs feature? Highly recommend it.
Yes.
I also like Indeed, but again, LinkedIn will offer you so many more features that Indeed hasn't yet. So if I go into a job that I've had before, like career services, let's do advisor, because there should be more of those available than if I say management. What's great about LinkedIn, number one, all of these filters at the top, you want to really put thought into. Am I going to limit myself to remote only? Am I going to limit myself to the United States only, or a certain city, or a certain radius? Really think through, again, getting clear about what do you want, what's important to you. And being careful about, there's a place here where it says remote, and then there's also one here if you go to all filters that says where, and so you can check the city. But if you have said remote and a city, I think it narrows it to only companies in that city or state that have remote jobs. But if you want to work remote, you don't need to narrow it down by location, right? So again, really thinking through, if you happen to be watching, by the way, and you're somebody who would identify as justice impacted, there is there's a category here for that. I think I just scrolled past it. Oh, fair chance employer. You would toggle and turn this one on if you wanted to filter your search that way. But once you set your filters, I highly recommend saying, okay, LinkedIn, turn this alert on. I want you to start sending me job alerts that fit these categories that I just picked. Because even if you are 2 years from, let's say you're a student and you're 2 years from graduating, this is a good time to start watching those trends. What are the jobs that are coming up? How often are they coming up? What are the new jobs? If you see a company that's always hiring for a manager, but the company's not expanding, where is that manager going? Like, why, why is that job always available? There's a reason, and it might not be a good reason. But you start learning, like, again, what are the skills I need? What are those training or education pieces? I do not need alerts right now, so I'm going to turn it off. But I want to scroll down just to show you some of the benefits. So for example, if I did want to be a career coach at Goodwill, it will tell me if my connections work there over here on the left. Based on the pictures, I think I know who that is, but I could also click right here. And then if I get ready to apply for this job, I can say, oh, hey, Troy, I know that you've been at Goodwill for a long time. I don't know if you remember me. We met here. Hey, I saw this job for such and such career advisor. Do you know anything about it? Can you tell me anything that's not in the job posting? Or like, hey, can you put in a word for me? That happens all the time. I would highly recommend that. Sometimes it will tell you if you know, it will tell you who the hiring manager is and if you know that person. Easy apply, if I click on this means that if I click easy apply again, it just shoots them over my profile, my LinkedIn profile. And that's great if I have ensured that everything on my profile matches what's in this job posting really well. That again, that's the benefit of being real clear about what you're looking for. But it's a great feature. I've not used it, but I've heard other people have. It will also tell you how many applicants have been there or have applied, sorry. I would take that with a grain of salt, meaning if tons of people have applied, apply anyway. Maybe your resume is better. Those are the big things that I like to talk about for jobs and groups. Do you guys have any questions about those? Okay. I'm going to stop for sharing for just a second and pull up a different screen and share that. These are the takeaways from today. Here we go. Would you guys be able to let me know if you can see my slides?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, I know it's still in the other view, but I'm trying to slide my toolbar over and it's not, there it is. It's not letting me. Okay, so these would be 5 things to do once you have a LinkedIn profile and then you click, boop, let's make it public. 1, like I said, follow companies, start following the conversation. 2, engage in groups and at some point start adding value. 3, not only will LinkedIn reach out and ask people if they want to be part of your network, you should be exploring network. Start by looking for people who, I mean, it's going to give you a whole list of, do you know these people, but you can start exploring people by in that search feature by who, what schools did you go to, what jobs did you have, where did you volunteer, what certifications do you have, and explore all the people and just ask to connect. And you can say, I am building my network, or I am looking for employment. More often than not, I should say, when you ask to connect with people, as a general rule for me, I always offer something instead of ask for something. So I might say, hey, John Smith, I know that we're part of this same group. I found this article, just wanted to share it with you. Also, I'm building my network, and I just wanted to see if you're open to connecting. That's way better than, hey, John, I'm looking for a job. Can you help me? By the way, my name's Carol. Those are just 2 different conversations. So I would probably lead with some kind of offer. But where I say ask for help, that means for the people you know really well, usually also for those people you have built up that equity, if you will, the trust, and you can say to them, hey, I am looking for work. Do you know anybody? And then, of course, we talked about for your connections, you want to stay actively involved with them as if it were a part-time job. Like their posts, be sure, I mean, for the ones that you actually like, forward, share, just stay engaged with them, because then you're building that equity before you need to ask for something. And it just helps them too. And then again, as you get people who want to connect with you, I would say just be at very least thoughtful, if not strategic, about how your brand aligns with their brand before accepting a request, because if you get a lot of squirrely people, number 1, they're going to try to sell you a lot of things, but number 2, if I look at Yesenia's profile and she has all these people who I think are like, ugh, I'm not going over there, I probably won't connect with her either because of her connections. I'm going to put thought into it before I actually connect. So any questions about those takeaways? Okay.
No, that's definitely helpful too. I feel like I have to purge through my connections too, just so I can be connected with people more relevant to what I'm, because like I said, I've had my LinkedIn since like 2016. So
Well, and I don't think you need to clean house because they're not in your future industry. Because again, somebody you worked with 20 years ago in your first job in an ice cream shop could still be a great resource for you and you for them.
oh, okay. Yeah.
The only people I would recommend removing would be if their brand just doesn't align, meaning those are the people who are always selling people things. Do you know what I mean? And you just get a not so good feeling.
Right. Okay.
Those are the people I would probably remove, just like in person.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Otherwise, everyone, like anybody who wants to connect, especially if they're looking for stuff or you have something, that is the whole point of the network. Spider out. Great feedback though, and great question. I went way over. I didn't know this was going to be a 2-hour workshop. So I think we started a little late, but I thank you guys for coming and for asking great questions. Of course, if you have questions after, you can reach out to me. For those I haven't met yet, you're watching the recording, you can message me at Carol at careercoachingwithcarol.com. I think I'll probably put, wherever I post this, I'll probably put my contact information, but I hope it was helpful. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I was just going to pause for any final thoughts or questions from you guys, and I'll stop recording.